What is going on, nerds of wrestling, and welcome to today's episode of What's Up Wrestler, a podcast by Nerds of Wrestling. I'm your host, Justin Del Rio, and my guest at this very time is the Bubblegum Princess, Alexia Nicole. Alexia, what is going on? How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
No problem. Thank you for having me. Sorry, I have to take a sip of water.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. I can't say your name too much on the show because I have the lady, the software, you know who, installed in my computer, and every time I say her name, the thing goes.
Yeah,
So I'm just gonna call you. Is that okay if I just call you Al for the show?
that's fine. Yeah.
All right. I'm not gonna lie. I've been wanting to get you on the show forever, and I'm really glad I was finally able to make this happen. Thank you again. We're living in a crazy time right now. How have you been doing to kind of keep a positive mindset?
It's been hard. I'm not gonna lie. Like it's especially. I'm not sure where you're at, but like in Canada, especially Ontario, Canada, like nothing's been happening the past year. Everything's shut down. Like we haven't been able to do anything. I've wrestled maybe 6 times in a year, so that's frustrating. I've just been trying to look on the bright side of things. Like, yeah, I can't wrestle, but like I can work on my body and trying to feel better. Yeah, I'm not really working as much or like wrestling as much, but I can save money because I'm not going out as much. Like I'm just trying to focus on the positives of everything going on.
Bro, I'm from Connecticut. I'm in the States right now. I know I interviewed somebody from Canada before in England, and they said the same thing. It's been nothing's going
Yeah.
on, nothing's been happening. That kind of sucks. It's like nothing seems to be looking up right now at all.
It's hard to say. We've had like a botched vaccine rollout. Like we don't make our own vaccines in Canada, so we
Oh
have to get
shit.
them from we have to get them from everywhere else. So because of that, like the rollout's been super slow. The way they're rolling it out, like only really old people and like essential workers have it like their first shot.
Right.
So yeah, like you can't really start going back to things if like most people don't have a vaccine. So we've just basically we've been totally shut down. Not totally, like we've tried to open up, but most most things haven't opened up since last March.
God damn. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Let's talk about
Okay.
let's talk about something positive. So much wrestling going on in the world right now. WWE, NXT, obviously, AEW, ROH, Impact is doing their thing. Have you been keeping up with a lot of the current products?
I've been trying, like as much as I've been home, it's hard to keep up because there's
Right.
wrestling every night and it's just hard. But I've been trying my hardest to keep up. I saw a bit of Impact's pay-per-view last it was on Sunday over the weekend. I try to watch Raw. I just can't. It's a little unbearable sometimes. Not gonna lie.
Don't we know it? Don't we know it?
But I try to watch most major shows. I try every now and then I tune into AEW. I try to keep up as much as possible, but it is hard. Like there's so much wrestling.
Don't feel bad when you say it's unbearable. I mean, it is unbearable. It is unbearable. Like I don't like watching Raw anymore. It's too boring. It's 3 hours. I mean, I remember when back in 2012 when they announced that Monday Night Raw is gonna be 3 hours, and we're like, oh my god, that's awesome. And then we're like, no, this is too much. Like, stop.
Like I remember the first week it was supposed to be 3 hours. I was pumped because like, oh my god, 3 hours of Raw, and then I quickly realized no, it's like an hour at least of like commercials and like another half hour of like really long like segments that really just like dragged out the show, and like half the matches got cut in half because of a commercial. I'm like, okay, no, this is not what I wanted. This is too long. I want my 2 hour Raw back.
Right. I don't feel like they're going back to 2 hours at all, unfortunately. No matter how bad we want it, they're not doing it because they're making way too much money. Speaking of, wrestling in WWE, when did you get into WWE? Who were some wrestlers you first looked up to in the industry?
So the first people I looked up to, The Undertaker was like my number one favorite wrestler at the time when I first started watching. I liked guys like Eddie Guerrero. I loved Molly Holly, Beth Phoenix, Mickey James. Like I started watching wrestling really young, but I would watch like in the background while my brother was watching it, so I wasn't totally paying attention until like I'd say like mid 2000s. But I had an idea of like who everyone was before that.
So you said like Undertaker and Eddie Guerrero really stood out to you. Can you name some of your favorite matches from those two? I know it's very hard.
It is hard. I mean, Ray and Eddie at Halloween Havoc is a classic.
Of course.
That's a classic. Like Eddie's matches with Chris Benoit in Japan are insane. It's Japan. Taker's the first match I ever watched actually was the Undertaker's match with Mick Foley, the King of the Ring Hell in a Cell, where he chucked him right off the top. That was my
Yep,
first ever memory of wrestling, and I loved it.
that's awesome.
Yeah, also Mania 20, 25, and 26, I believe, were the Shawn Michaels matches with the Undertaker.
Yep.
Those were great. Those are some of
Now,
my favorites.
I feel like this is a very hot topic of a question. Which one was better, 25 or 26?
Ooh, I preferred 25. I know a lot of people like 26 more, but I think I preferred the first time ever. Well, not ever, but like that first big Mania match.
Bro, I feel like it's cut like right down the middle. Like you can't pick your favorite. 25 was phenomenal, so was 26. But I think I'm with you. If I had to pick, I would go back and watch 25, over and over again. And that's my personal favorite, and it is one of the best WrestleMania matches of all time. Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio at Halloween Havoc is a classic. Like everyone says that's their favorite wrestling match because it is. I'm not trying to be like, stereotypical or like, plain, but it is a wrestling match that everybody will say it is their favorite. Is Rey Mysterio one of your favorites as well?
He is. He is actually someone I really look up to in terms of like how to work in the ring because he's so short and so am
Yep.
I. So, so I really look at him and see how he works with other people and like how he interacts with people that are so much taller just because it's something that I also have to do.
Like you said, your brothers was really into wrestling. Is your whole family into wrestling, or is it just you and your brothers?
Kinda. It's weird. Like my great grandmother loved wrestling. She's this old woman, didn't speak any English at all, but loved watching it, and it just kind of like continued on that side of the family till it got to me. So like she was a fan, my grandmother was a fan, my mom was a fan, my brother's a fan, and now I'm a fan.
There you go.
Yeah, I just kind of continued down the line like that.
There you go. I said it before on a lot of my podcasts, and people are gonna most likely get annoyed, but I'll say it again. I get so jealous when wrestlers I interview say, "Oh, my whole family watched it. My dad watched it. My uncle watched it." I'm like, "Yeah, no, can't relate. I'm the only person in my whole family who watches wrestling. I don't even know how I got into it. I just saw WrestleMania 22 at Target and I bought it, and I was like, I love wrestling." So that's all she wrote. You grew up in Canada your whole life, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
Is wrestling very big up there in Canada?
It
Oh,
is.
of course it is. Edge and everything. That was a stupid question. Oh my god, let's
No,
just forget I asked that.
there's no such thing as a stupid question. It is big here, but you know what? Independent wrestling isn't as big as it used to be. I will say
Mhm.
that. Like there was a company that would have like thousands of people at their shows, and they would bring in like the huge impact names at the time, like Christian, Rhino, AJ Styles, like all those guys. Unfortunately, they're not around anymore, but that was a huge deal. And like, so indie wrestling used to be huge. Then it kind of dwindled down a bit. It's starting to get bigger again in Canada, but like Canada is such a large province and it takes forever to drive country, and it takes forever to drive from one province to another. Um, like for me to drive to the next province over in either direction would take about 5 to 6 hours. Whereas in the States, I know like a couple of hours and you're in another state. Um,
That's crazy. I still find that so crazy. Like because even for like I don't know. Texas is a massive state. I'm from Connecticut. We're like very small. It takes me an hour to get from my town to like another town, but like I know Texas takes like or California takes like 4 hours to get from one place to another part of California, which I find absolutely just mind-boggling. Like you're in California, like what? Like it takes you 4 hours to get from here to like San Diego. It's so crazy to blonde. When I think about that. But really quick before we get to know more about Alexia Nicole, drop those plugs. Where can the nerds find you?
so the nerds can find me at it's Alexia Twitter and at Alexia Nicole on Instagram. Those are my only two social media accounts. Those are the two. That's all I got. So I think they're on the screen right now.
There you go.
That's where you can find me. Yeah.
There you go. We'll definitely get those again at the end. When did you really start becoming like motivated to become a professional wrestler?
Like 12, 13. I was just like watching a bunch of wrestling, and it was whenever like the divas were having like 6-woman tag matches every single week. I was a lot more upset than anything. I'm like, well, this is lame. Like, why aren't they doing more? Like, they could do
Right.
better than this. So I was just that kind of got me determined to be like, okay, I can do this. I know I can do this. You know, I want to be a woman that can wrestle and show that I can wrestle and not just, prance out there for 5 minutes and come back. So that's really what got me motivated, just like the drive to like women are better than this. You're not just the
Yeah.
eye candy.
Right, right. Watching as a young fan to see the way the women were kind of treated in wrestling, must have did it have like a negative mindset on you, or you just like you said, you just kept motivated to do your own thing?
Definitely kept motivated. I just feel weird. I didn't even notice like some of the things. Like I was watching an old Raw back from like 99. I didn't realize how sexual it was.
Yeah.
I feel like it blew my mind, and like to look at it now, like as a wrestler, like it's the strangest thing. I don't think I would ever agree to do half the things there, but it's crazy how far it's come. That's
It
for
kind of
sure.
yeah, just like went right over your head, like, oh,
Yeah,
whatever. Like watching now, you're like, holy shit, they got away with that. Like, what are they doing?
yeah.
Like, what is going on?
Honestly,
And it's crazy to think where women's wrestling was then to where it is now. I'm a massive fan of women wrestling. I feel like they deserve just as much as the men do. And that goes to my next thing. WrestleMania just happened. Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair, main event in night one. What were your thoughts on that match?
it was so good. I was so excited for that match. I knew like they're both great. I knew they would kill
Yeah,
it. I was even more excited when I heard out they were the main because that feels like a main event. Like it's a nice, like a really good match. Had a story going into it. Like they were really talented wrestlers and they killed it.
yeah.
It was such a good match, such a good main event. Like I couldn't have been happier. To me that was the main event of the entire like 2 nights.
Oh yeah, 100%. Now night one or night two, which one is your favorite?
It won.
Oh,
No
100%. I feel
question.
like
Yeah.
yeah, nobody picked night two. Like nobody like chose night two. Night one was a lot better. I'm gonna mention really quick. Bad Bunny, holy shit, he did amazing. I had no expectations for him, and once he hit that Canadian Morrison, I popped like a motherfucker. I went crazy. That was insane.
He did great. Like you can tell he really like wanted to do it and like trained like so good. Like the best
Yeah.
celeb ever to step his foot in the ring.
Oh, without a question, without a question. Let's talk more about Alexia Nicole, though. We could talk about WrestleMania another time. But, what was your first time stepping into the ring, like actually training? What was your mindset? What was going through your head?
It was a little scary. So I first started training. I was lucky. So Taylor Wilde actually, she was hosting an all girls training like session for a few months at the school that I went to. So she was like, super kind, super helpful, but it was still intimidating. It was just me and like 5 other girls, and she's just standing in the ring, like, okay, come in, let's get started. And it's like, what? Sorry, you want to just get started right away? But yeah, like intimidating, but it went away very quickly. I will say, like as soon as you start kind of moving around and you start figuring out what you're doing, it just really became fun. That the fear went away to start to become a lot of fun.
There you go. I mean, and what was the first bump you take? I know a lot of wrestlers take a lot of different bumps. What was the first bump you've ever taken, if you could remember?
I think what did she do? I think she literally just like gave me like a double, like she just pulled my legs out from underneath me, and that was my first bump.
Oh my god.
Wasn't expecting it, but I had done karate for a little bit beforehand, so I knew how to technically take a bump. So I was prepared. I even though I didn't know what was happening. But yeah, it wasn't definitely didn't hurt as much as I thought it would. I'll say that, but it's not that it didn't hurt. That's for sure.
It's kind of funny how you said your trainer just like ripped your legs from right under you. Just fell. Like, oh, okay, what's going on? Did you fall on your back, or was it like a more of like a clumsy fall?
Fall on my back. She didn't give me an option. She just tugged my legs at a force. I'm like, okay, I have to fall on my back.
Yeah, you gotta like you gotta
Yeah,
slap the mat with your hands. You gotta sell it. You gotta sell it. Uh,
yeah.
that's insane. A lot of people who don't know wrestling, what would you tell them that what the ring feels like for your first time?
It's weird. It's like think of like the hardest like fabric, I guess you can think of, because like it's not soft at all, but like it's not like a concrete floor. Like there's definitely a layer of like nice thin mats
Yeah.
underneath the canvas. But there's not. It's still not like a cloud. And it depending on the ring, if there might not be a lot of give, and if there's no give, that's gonna suck. You're just gonna land. It's gonna be a thud on the ring.
Oof. Oof, oof, oof. Yeah, I give so much credit to wrestlers. After your whole training was done, what was your first match like? How long did it take you to get booked into your first match?
So it took me about 2 years, but I was 15 when I started training, so my
Oh,
trainer
okay.
was very hesitant on putting me out super young.
Holy shit, 2 years. Good for you. That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah, so I was 17 on my first match. It was on Canada Day and like a big outdoor event. So I was a tag match against I was teaming with a guy named Cody 45, who's actually a ref in Ontario now, which is kind of fun, against one of my trainers and Angelina Love.
No shit. That is
Yeah, that was my
awesome.
first match.
What I've interviewed so many wrestlers, and 2 years is you broke the record. Holy shit, that's like the longest I've ever heard anybody, train for. Good for you.
Thank
You
you.
said you said you were 15 when you started training, and 17 when you finally got booked in your first match. Did you go through like any like doubts in your mind, like I can't do this, or did you just have a positive mindset like straight through?
Positive mindset straight through. Like I knew my training was like I trained so long before I did anything because my trainer was like, "Look, you're really young." Um, and after I started working, I realized until I turned 18, not a lot of people want to book a 17-year-old girl.
Right.
Yeah, so it was definitely nothing that like made me feel like upset or anything. And if anything, it motivated me more. I got to see like everyone around me that was training and working on shows. I got to learn from them. They'd give me advice. So I had to prepare for that first match. So I'm kind of thankful that I trained for so long and then started working. I think it really helped me get ready for all of that.
Hell yeah, I love. What was that like first match like? You said you wrestled a trainer, which I feel like a lot of first matches should be. I'm not a wrestler, but I feel like if you're wrestling in your first match, you should 100% wrestle your trainer at one point or another. You wrestled your trainer in a tag match. Were you confident? Were you nervous in the ring? I know it's a very long time ago. I asked a lot of old questions like for the first time in wrestling.
No, it's good. I wasn't as nervous as I thought I would be, just because like I said, like one of my trainers, Marcus Marquez was his name. Like he was like, "This is what you're doing. If you get lost, just kind of look at me, look at Angelina. Like someone will help you out no matter what." So I wasn't worried about that, but it was still scary. Like the stepping out in front of a crowd for the first time is an unbelievably terrifying feeling. And it's weird because you get used to it right away, but that first like 3 seconds is so scary because everyone's just looking at you. I probably peed my pants a bit. I'm not gonna lie.
It happens. It happens.
It does happen. It happens a lot. But yeah, like it was scary, but the fear went away quick, and I just started to just kind of roll with it, do what I was supposed to do. And yeah, just make sure my biggest fear was messing up. So I was like, as long as I didn't mess up and I didn't hurt anyone, I was happy.
You were good. Fast forward a little bit because I know you had so many more wrestling matches in your career after that. I gotta know. I gotta ask. How did like bubblegum play a role in your character?
It was honestly, so I used to chew gum when I got nervous because I would grind my teeth. So I'm like, okay, I'll chew gum. Like that'll stop me from grinding. And then I was chewing bubble gum one day. That's all I had. I cut a promo backstage and I had bubble gum in my mouth still. People saw the promo. They saw photos. They're like, oh, because I just blew a bubble. And they're like, oh, like this works great. This is so good. I'm like, okay, that's literally how it started. Like no fancy story. It was just all happenstance.
I feel like a lot of like character gimmicks like that happen just out of nowhere. Like, oh no, I was just tying my shoe one day and they just called me the Shoe King. Oh, all right. There you
Yeah.
go. And a lot of people want to know though, what is your favorite type of gum?
It's is it Hubba? Yeah, I'd say Hubba Bubba is probably the best.
I mean, you could blow like the biggest bubble with those, so you can't beat it. Do you eat gum like during your matches?
I try not to. I try to like either like put it in like a tissue and like give it to the ref, or like put it in like my boot or knee pad or something. Sometimes I'll keep it in my mouth. It's really hard though. It's really just more of like a choking hazard for myself.
Of course. Yeah, we don't want that. We don't want that. After this whole thing was done with your, first match and your gimmick really took off, you wrestled for a lot of places. I know you wrestled in Impact for a few times. What was that like wrestling in Impact for your first time?
It was it was fun. It was again like scary. I get scared very easily, which I don't know how I've made it in wrestling.
I mean, I get scared easily too, so it's okay.
It was intimidating. But it was such a great experience. Like that first match I had for Impact with Jordan Grace. Um, I mean, I'd wrestled her before, but like a totally different match, totally different
Right.
scenario. Like I'm typically not a heel when I wrestle people bigger than me because why.
True,
I'm
true.
very tiny. I'm not picking people up and slamming them. But I was a heel again, so I'm like, okay, how do I make this work? And I've just tried to be like as character driven as possible. And we had like such little time because the whole point was to get Jordan over, and I wanted to make sure I was able to do that, but also make an impression,
Right.
which I think I did in a way because they brought me back.
And I know she squashed you in that match. She beat the shit out of you. And you
Yeah.
said you guys worked a lot together, but to work in Impact was a whole different ball game. And what was your mindset like, even stepping into the building for the first time in like that sort of environment?
I got nervous. Like I had gone, so they were taping. They had a pay per view the day before, which I'd been invited to go just to come hang out backstage, meet everyone. So I was there the day before, so I got comfortable with everybody and like got to talk and meet and just relax a bit. The day I was a little more stressful because I'm like, okay, I'm here as a worker now. This is scary. But just like getting to plan the match, and like Gail Kim is the producer for the knockouts. Such an honor, honestly, to just like to have her help like putting together matches and like getting her feedback for things. And it like getting used to working TV matches, which is something I hadn't done before. So like knowing where the cameras are, knowing how much
Right.
time you have to work, listening to the ref, like he's giving you time cues, making sure you listen to him. Totally new experience. I'm so thankful for that experience because I learned a lot that first time, and it really helped every time that I got to continue working there. But yeah, it was just honestly, it was a little overwhelming, I will say. Like it was a lot to take in at once. Um, but it was a good learning experience for sure.
I feel like I should know this. Were you ever a talent enhancement in WWE?
No, I've done extra work, but never as a talent enhancement.
That's still pretty cool though to work like in the back at WWE. I'm assuming kind of like Impact, but like it's a whole different ball game for WWE.
Yeah, they have the best catering backstage at WWE. I'll say
Oh,
that.
I'm sure
Yeah,
they
the
got some
food's
banging
great.
food. Speaking of WWE, I know you wrestled Jazz
Mhm.
in a few matches. Jazz is a legend, an icon. What was that like stepping into the ring with her?
Oh my God, I was again like so thankful, so happy. Like it's just she's such a legend. Like I remember when I met her, I was scared to you're scared to especially to work with someone that like you grew up watching.
Right.
It's a weird feeling almost. But she was so kind, so like giving in terms of like putting the match together. And she was just so like if just follow my lead. We're not going to plan a ton, but when we get out there, we'll just go at it. Don't worry about a thing, and it works so well. She's just so knowledgeable on like how to work with the crowd and like how to like not pander to them, but still like work with them and have them on your side and get them there without having to be like, okay, come on, guys, let's clap. Um,
Yeah.
she's
Right.
really good, yeah, really good at like teaching you how to do that. So I'm so thankful again, and like she's so good.
Yeah.
Like she's
She
so good. She's doing it for so long, and she's still so good. It's insane.
It's crazy to see a lot of these wrestlers still wrestling. Funny story, really quick. I remember I went to Monday Night Raw for the first time ever back in 2006. This is completely off topic. Sorry, I gotta share the story.
Okay.
I went to Monday Night Raw for the very first time in 2006 with my brother, my mom, and my stepdad. And keep in mind, again, this is '06, and my stepdad was watching wrestling in the '80s. A lot of big icons back in the '80s. Hulk Hogan. Ultimate Warrior, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and I remember he wrestled Eugene in like a dark match before Raw, and he came out, his music hit, and I remember my stepdad at the time, he said, "Oh my God, he's still wrestling," and that just kind of like went over my head because I didn't realize how old he was. I thought he was kind of young. I'm like, he has to be young because he's wrestling. It's crazy to think in '06 and like 10, 12 years later, I'm meeting Hacksaw in like Massachusetts at Big Time Wrestling, and he's still wrestling. And like what my stepdad at the time said, he's still wrestling. It kind of blows my mind. That just goes into like, with Jazz and everyone still wrestling. I know Jazz wasn't wrestling in the '80s, but it's just crazy to see a lot of these people and still loosening up lacing up those boots and stepping into the square circle and wrestling. It's insane. It's kudos to them because I can't do it. I don't know how everyone else does it.
I mean, it like I can't even imagine. Like she's been doing this probably as long as I've been alive, and it's honestly crazy to me to think about. Like I've been wrestling for less than 10 years, and like my body hurts. How do you handle it?
Yo, that's crazy. That's insane. We all know you're based off in Canada. You wrestled in the States a few times. What was it like coming to the States for the very first time? I know. Did you wrestle in Impact? Was that in the States?
No, Impact was all in Canada. I've done AIW in Ohio. I've wrestled for I did a match for Beyond.
Nice.
Yeah, I wrestled Solo Darling. That was really exciting. I've done like a couple of other smaller shows. I can't even remember the first show I did in the US. I don't remember. I just remember it was in Michigan. It's fun. It's a lot of fun to just travel somewhere new and like meet new people and like work in a new environment. It is hard though because like a lot of people don't realize like it's very dangerous to go over the border as a wrestler
Yeah,
because a border guard can basically determine your future. They can say, okay, we don't, we think you're taking the job away from an American, so you're not allowed back in the country for 5 years. And
really.
a lot of Canadian wrestlers have been banned from the US. So yeah, when we come to the US, we risk everything.
So that's why you guys don't come to the U.S. that often.
Yeah, that's honestly, unless someone's got a visa, they're probably not coming to the US all the time. But
That's
that's yeah, it's kind of
that's so
crazy.
sad. Where did you wrestle? Did you? You say you wrestled Solo Darling for Beyond? Beyond, holy shit, it's a fantastic promotion. I love Beyond. Where did you wrestle? Chris Statlander. I know you wrestled Statlander before, right?
Toronto. I got
To,
lucky. Came to me.
nice. What do you remember? What promotion that was for?
That was for Greektown Wrestling.
Greektown Wrestling. Awesome. And have you wrestled for them a lot?
Yeah, that's where I wrestled Jazz twice. I
There you
wrestled
go.
Allison Kay in a strap match there, so that was fun. I've wrestled Shotzi Blackheart there. I've had a lot of really cool matchups in Greektown. I'm really happy and thankful for that.
That is awesome. Enough about wrestling. I feel like we know pretty much a good gist of your career. Let's get to know you like a little more. Does Alexia Nicole like Netflix? What are your favorite Netflix shows? Hulu, Amazon Prime, Peacock. I mean, I know Peacock has a network now, so although you
So
guys still get
we
the
don't even
network,
have
right?
yeah, we get
I
the
was gonna say,
network. We don't have Peacock.
oh, so everyone listening must be like, damn, lucky her.
It is great, I will say. Um, I watch I watch on Amazon. I'll just go back and forth between like old shows and stuff. I do want to watch Godzilla. I literally have that. I'm just waiting to rent it
Right.
because I got to pay the
It's
fee.
like in your cart. It's like in your cart right there. Like, should I buy it? Should I
Yeah,
not? I
I'm
don't
just
know.
waiting for the right time.
Right.
I've been watching a bit of Smallville with my boyfriend. I've never watched it before, but he's super into it, and like I kind of like it. It's getting good. We're in the first season. I watched Nailed It on Netflix, which is a baking show where people do horribly, like awful, and it's really fun. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's a baking show for bad bakers. I highly recommend.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
I don't think we have that here. I gotta check. I mean,
So
maybe
good.
we do. May it's crazy how you mentioned Smallville. I don't like Smallville. I'm not really into that kind of shows. My friend is though, but I remember the guy who plays Superman in the show. He was from the movie Cheaper by the Dozen.
Yes.
And I met him at Comic-Con. And breaking news, we do have Nailed It on Netflix. I just checked. We have it. My phone's right there. We have Nailed It. I will check it out. Do you like those kind of shows, like the cooking shows?
I do. I really like baking shows. Like there's a every now and then I'll catch a kids baking championship on TV, and it's just kids that are like really good bakers. I'm like, this is great. I can sit and watch this for a few hours.
My friend was like, "You're gonna laugh at me when I tell you this." A couple years ago, I was watching baseball in the Little League World Series. I'm like, "Cool." I mean, those kids are insane. Like those kids are good. I never heard about a kids baking show. So, hey, that's pretty cool. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before though. Uh, I gotta ask, do you watch Cobra Kai? Did you watch Cobra Kai?
I didn't. I've never actually seen Karate Kid either. I gotta
You
be
don't have to.
honest.
You don't have to.
Okay.
You don't have to. I mean, honestly, a few people can agree. Hopefully, everyone can agree that you don't need to watch Karate Kid 1, 2, and 3 just to watch Cobra Kai. I mean, because they kind of explain everything in the show,
Yeah.
so you have like a basic understanding of what Cobra Kai and the Karate Kid was all about. Alexia, I know this has been a very short time, but thank you so much for coming on the show today. I had a super fun time talking to you. Really quick after this whole pandemic ends, I hope it ends in Canada. What are your goals? What do you really want to accomplish?
I really just want to honestly just get better. Like I was working so hard to be better before the pandemic, and I felt like I had really hit a stride. of like, I was having better matches, I was getting bigger matches because of that, I was getting bigger opportunities, and then it kind of came to a halt. So I've taken all the time that I could go to training now, like during this pandemic. I've really taken it to kind of improve on that. So I want to show people that I can be better, that I can just be a better wrestler. And even if they thought I was great before, I want to show them I can be greater. I just want to be the best that I could be. So that's hopefully as soon as possible.
Well, I'm rooting for you. I know everyone is rooting for you up in Canada. I hope you see you at a show in the States sometime. Come to Connecticut, Northeast Wrestling.
I'll try.
Lombardi, if you're listening, book Alexia Nicole. But Alexia, thank you so much again for coming on the show. This has been a lot of fun. Of course, one more time, drop those plugs. Where can those nerds find you?
You can find me on Twitter at It's Alexia Nicole. You can find me on Instagram at Alexia Nicole. And those are my socials.
There you go, nerds. Go follow Alexia Nicole. And this has been an episode of What's Up Wrestler, a podcast by Nerds of Wrestling. I'm your host, Justin Del Rio. Peace out, nerds.